Welcome to the Hindu Daily. Our deep dive today tackles three, well, pretty distinct, but I think interconnected areas from the sources. The instantaneous political volatility we're seeing in Nepal, then a look at the systemic principles guiding governance in India, and finally, a really powerful ground report on human resilience and institutional commitment within the CRPF.
Right, and the goal really is to try and extract the key patterns, what underpins stability or maybe the lack of it across the region.
Exactly. Patterns, systems, human resilience. Okay, let's unpack this, starting with Kathmandu. We jump straight into Nepal, and wow, the speed of political transition there has been, well, nothing short of breathtaking.
It really has. September 8th, 2025, Gen Z protests erupt in Kathmandu. It seemed to surprise everyone, especially the government.
And the police reaction, it seems, was excessive.
That's what the sources suggest. And that overreaction just fueled public outrage. So much so that Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli resigned the very next day, September 9th, just like that.
That quick. So how was that vacuum filled? I mean, did the protesters have a plan?
Well, that's what's crucial here. The protesters themselves hadn't really organized a political successor, not fully. But things moved fast anyway. By September 12th, after some pretty intense mediation involving Gen Z reps, and interestingly, the Army Chief, General A.R. Sigdil, former Chief Justice Sushila Karki was sworn in as the interim PM.
A former Chief Justice and her mandate.
It's laser-focused, hold fresh elections by March 5th, 2026, and she's supported by an apolitical cabinet. Technical experts, not politicians.
That rapid transition, it really underscores the instability, doesn't it? And the sources put this into a wider context, looking at the turbulent 2020s across the region.
Yeah, it's important context. You think about the Myanmar coup in 21, the Taliban back in Kabul, same year, Sri Lanka's Aragalaya in 22, Pakistan's situation in 23, Bangladesh in 24. It's been a decade of upheaval.
And connecting these dots, what's the common thread analysts are pointing to?
It seems to be the dominant role of the youth in these protests, tied directly to, well, pretty acute economic despair.
Economic despair specifically among the youth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
While overall unemployment in these South Asian countries might be relatively low, maybe 4% or 5%, youth unemployment is just spiking, often over 16% in the neighborhood. And in Nepal, it's hitting above 20%. That's a huge number.
So the core insight here, if I'm getting this right, is that stability, or maybe the appearance of stability, whether it's Nepal's constant government shuffling, 7 since 2015.
Right, musical chairs with the same leaders.
Or the long-term, decade-spanning tenures like the Rajapaksas in Sri Lanka or Sheikh Hasina in Bangladesh, it can all mask the same underlying rot.
Precisely. When youth despair hits a critical point, high unemployment, the feeling of political cronyism, corruption, any political system, no matter how long it's been stable or how it's structured, seems vulnerable to, well, instantaneous collapse.
And in Nepal specifically, the frustration wasn't just with Oli.
No, it seems broader. Frustration with the entire political class for, misusing coalition politics primarily to amass wealth rather than govern effectively.
So what are the immediate challenges now for this interim government, besides just holding elections?
The big one seems to be constitutional. There's talk among the political class about amending the 2015 Constitution.
How so?
They're discussing maybe moving away from the current system. It's a complex mix, uses first past the post, where the highest vote getter wins the seat, and proportional representation, where seats reflect the overall party vote share.
And the fear is this mixed system makes majority governments hard to form.
That's the argument some are making. But changing it, especially any attempt to dilute proportional representation or weaken federalism, is a huge risk.
Why is that?
It would almost certainly spark protests among the marginalized Madhesi, Janjati, and Tharu communities, and that could completely derail the March election timeline. It's a potential minefield.
It sounds like a real high-stakes moment, which makes India's response interesting. How did Delhi react?
Measured, very measured. PM Modi called Ms. Karki on September 18th, assured support, stressed the need for peaceful, free, and fair elections. The key thing is, they deliberately avoided any inflammatory language in the Nepali media.
Okay, so if Nepal highlights the fragility of systems built maybe too much on personality and short-term deals, our next source shifts focus to India and examines the deliberate construction of what it calls durable systems, systems built to last.
Yes, this editorial looks at Prime Minister Narendra Modi's work ethic, but it tries to move beyond the public charisma.
Right, less spectacle, more process.
Exactly. It focuses on the meticulous professionalism, the discipline applied to governance. The argument is that this discipline is what transforms a vision into these durable systems.
Is there an example of this in practice?
They give a pretty telling anecdote. A scheduled 15-minute meeting might stretch to 45 minutes. Why? Because the PM apparently spent maybe 2 hours beforehand preparing, really mastering the notes, the data, anticipating the counter-arguments.
2 hours prep for a 15-minute slot.
Yeah. And the source suggests this level of homework, this meticulousness, sets the working norm for the whole system.
And this work ethic, is it guided by a particular principle?
The source highlights the concept of antidaya, which translates roughly to the rise of the last citizen.
In making sure policy benefits reach the most marginalized first.
That's the idea. It's presented as the ultimate litmus test for every decision. Does it help the person at the very bottom?
And how does that translate into actual systems? Philosophy is one thing, implementation another.
Well, this is where technology comes in, according to the source. It's the mechanism that makes antidaya a quantifiable, durable system, not just a goal. It points heavily to what they call the inclusion triad: digital identity, universal bank accounts, and real-time payments. This digital plumbing, basically.
Aadhaar, Yandan, UPI.
Precisely. This infrastructure ensures benefits go directly to verified citizens. Structurally, it eliminates opportunities for leakage, or at least shrinks them dramatically, and it allows policy to be tuned using actual data, not just anecdotes.
The source seems quite positive about this systematic approach. Does it mention any downsides or criticisms, perhaps about centralization?
It focuses more on describing the methodology. It mentions that discussions welcome competing views. They're described as civil but unsparing. The stated benefit is efficiency, boiling down complex issues, assigning clear responsibility, setting metrics, but yes, implicitly you could infer potential downsides. Critics, as often noted in other analyses, sometimes argue this kind of high centralization, while maybe efficient at the very top, could potentially slow down decision-making elsewhere or affect departmental autonomy. The source itself, though, really sticks to describing how the system is intended to work for policy delivery.
And are there specific policy examples given?
Yes, like the goods and services tax, the GST simplification. The focus wasn't just abstract revenue targets, but how quickly the average citizen or small trader would feel the positive change. Guided by cooperative federalism, apparently.
Okay.
Another one mentioned is the Numaligarh bamboo ethanol plant. The PM's questions reportedly went straight to the hinge point.
Hinge points, meaning
The critical factors affecting the last person in the chain. Not just will it get built, but things like how will farmers get paid? And will it be credited the same day? How can genetic engineering make the bamboo grow faster? And crucially, how do we ensure every part, stalk, leaf, residue, is used economically? Ethanol, furfural, green acetic acid. Total system utilization.
that focus on the end result for the individual and maximizing the system, it's a clear theme. Right, let's take this idea of durable systems and apply it now at a really profoundly human level. We move to a deeply moving ground report about the CRPF's institutional response to grievous injury.
Yeah, this is powerful stuff.
It starts with Constable Amit Kirtania, he's 33, injured in an IED explosion in Chhattisgarh back in June 2023.
The injuries were devastating. Lost both legs. Sustained 95% physical disability in his right arm. Lost vision in one eye. Just catastrophic.
The source mentions he agreed to the amputations after seeing a video.
Yes. Apparently a viral video showing someone walking with artificial limbs gave him some hope. But the reality, as the report details, is a daily struggle. The prosthetics are uncomfortable, take 5 to 7 minutes just to put on, and need constant maintenance. So especially, in humid conditions like the monsoon, they retain moisture.
And the institutional response to this kind of life-altering injury.
That's the National Center for Divyang Empowerment, the NCDE, in Hyderabad. It opened in December 2020.
Divyang warriors, that's the term PM Modi introduced back in 2015 for persons with disabilities, right?
That's right. And this center, conceived by former CRPF Chief Dr. A.P. Maheshwari, is unique. It's the only facility of its kind specifically training these personnel for life after injury. Over 219 have been trained so far.
What's the facility like?
It sounds incredibly well designed. Over 100 wheelchair-friendly barracks, wide ramps everywhere, motorized buggies to get around, even specially designed gym equipment. And there are separate physiotherapy rooms focusing really intensely on gait and strength training, trying to maximize independence.
And it's not just physical rehabilitation, is it? The mental toll must be immense.
Absolutely crucial. They have a massive focus on mental health. Daily meditation sessions are part of the routine, apparently, to reduce stress. And there's a specialized counseling wing.
For PTSD, trauma care.
Yes, exactly. dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder, trauma care, and also managing something called phantom limb syndrome.
That's where you still feel sensations, even pain, in the limb that's no longer there.
Precisely. It's a very real and often distressing phenomena. So that holistic approach, physical and mental, is key.
And does it work? Does it allow for what the article calls a second innings?
The examples suggest it does. Look at Kirtania himself. This is a man who used to trek 40-50 kilometers through jungles carrying heavy gear as part of his job.
Right.
Now, at the NCDE, he's channeled that determination into competitive archery. And he's winning medals, bronze and silver, already at the Kilo India Para Games. It shows how that survival instinct, that drive, can translate directly into sport success.
That's incredible. Are there other examples?
Yes. The report mentions Constable Toman Kumar lost his left leg in an IED blast in February 2022. He got his limb fitted at the NCDE in 2023. Since then, he's won multiple national and international medals in archery. He's actually competing right now in the World Archery Para Championships in Korea. So the center is clearly providing a functional, repeatable path to success and, well, a new life.
And has this commitment led to broader policy changes within the system?
It seems so. A really critical change was announced by the Union Home Secretary. Severely injured personnel, those requiring amputation, will now be allowed to continue in service until retirement, with full benefits.
So they won't be boarded out, medically retired against their will.
Exactly. That term, boarded out, being compulsorily retired, that practice historically had a profound adverse psychological impact. Troops feared losing a limb meant being discarded by the force they served. This policy change directly addresses that fear.
And that fear, the article suggests, was a prime motivator for creating the NCDE in the first place.
Yes. Dr. Maheshwari, the former CRPF chief, is quoted on this. The goal was to ensure a dignified life, something beyond being shunted into, menial roles like being a telephone operator or just sitting at a ration shop counter. The NCDE aims to be a single-window system to combat that psychological blow, that fear and helplessness.
But there must be challenges. What about the cost? Good prosthetics aren't cheap.
That was a major systemic hurdle. The reimbursement rates for prostheses under the Central Government Health Scheme, the CGHS, apparently hadn't changed since 2014, which meant a massive shortfall for modern, high-quality limbs.
So how is that being addressed?
The government is now using funds from the Bharat Kavir platform that was initially set up in 2017 to support families of personnel killed in action. Now, those funds are also being used to cover the gap for these advanced prosthetics, so the injured personnel get the best available tech without bearing the cost personally.
It's about ensuring the system delivers on its promise of care.
Right. The resilience is just astounding. The report mentions another constable, Ramanoj Kumar, lost both legs to an IED in 2020, came to the NCDE, took up shot put and discus throw. He since won 5 national medals. It just highlights that the most vital resource being rehabilitated isn't just the physical body, but the human will. And that will thrives when it's supported by a system that affords dignity, a system that refuses to discard its people.
This systemic focus on the individual, ensuring standards hold even under immense stress, whether it's the governance system aiming for, say, delivery efficiency, or the NCDE aiming for rehabilitation and dignity.
It brings us right back, doesn't it? Back to the crisis of political instability and youth despair we started with in Nepal.
Absolutely. We saw this desire to create durable systems driving policy in one article, and here in the CRPF story, we see a durable, single-window system being created specifically for the wounded soldier, the most vulnerable in that context. This institutional commitment to the last person, it feels like a crucial lesson.
I think the big question to maybe leave listeners with is this. The CRPF system, it specifically addressed that deep-seated fear soldiers had of being discarded, right? It provided dignity. So how can political leaders, not just in Nepal but across the region, design systemic, dignified solutions for their unemployed youth? Solutions that combat their fear of being discarded by the economy.
Because that feeling, as the sources clearly show, that sense of being left behind with no prospects.
That's the powerful fuel for political upheaval. Addressing it systematically with dignity seems paramount.
That is the essential challenge stemming from our deep dive today. Thank you for listening. If you want to provide suggestions, please contact on the Twitter handle given in the episode description. As always, we are eager to hear what our listeners want to be informed about. We wish you a great day.